Howdy, howdy, howdy. This is a review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Power Struggle 2017, as the title placard would suggest. So, let me get back to the, the cheat sheet I have here from Wikipedia so I can see what all the matches and times were. So overall, just right quick, I'll say I'd give the overall show about a B grade. The last two matches made up for the rest of them, which I felt were kind of lackluster. So if you just want a quick synopsis on the show, my opinion, there you go. Going match by match, there were 10 matches on the card with one preliminary. And some of my little nitpicks with New Japan, tag team matches not being given enough time, heels that do heel shit even though they don't work as heels and nobody actually boos them, entrances, especially with like Takahashi and his bimbos taking up ages and ages, with a Bullet Club, Yujiro Takahashi and the two girls. I call them bimbos, I'm just being facetious. Or snarky. I don't have anything against them, and I understand the Tokyo Pimp thing. It's just, sometimes I think that they spend way too much time on entrances, and especially with stuff like that. It's like, ooh, let's show the girls' butts, let's get the camera right up on their asses. Like, you know, that's what the internet exists for now. Well, one of the things, it's actually a great tool for information, research, and all kinds of other things, communication. But if what you want to do is look at hot chicks, asses, dancing, stripping, fucking, whatever, there, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes and terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of all that available online. You can see it at your leisure at any time. I watch pro wrestling for pro wrestling. So when they started having things like the girls dancing and eating up ages and ages and ages on the entrances and stuff, it's like, come on, get on with it. Like, good grief. How sexually frustrated would somebody have to be to want to watch pro wrestling, to look at chicks? I mean, come on. Is there not a better use of the time on this card? Get on with it. So, there were a few nitpicks here and there, and I'll talk about specific stuff through the matches. So we start off with David Finlay and Young Lion Kitamura. Not a bad little match. 5 minutes, 32 seconds. But considering that they they had that prelim match, or pre-show match, and then there was another 5-10 minutes or something before the actual show started, or whatever. They could have given him a few more minutes. It would not have hurt anybody's feelings at all. They could have easily done it. I think Kitamura could have handled himself for a few more minutes. Finlay definitely could have. So I think the match was too damn short, which is a recurring theme through the show, actually, because I think they had too many matches. And, yeah, it just is, it is what it is, I suppose. So not a bad little match, as I said, but only 5.5 minutes long. I think they could have given him a few more minutes, especially since, like I said, this was a pre-show match, and then you just had to wait for a few more, like 5-10 more minutes before the actual show started. It would not have hurt anything to give him a few more minutes at all. My only real gripe with the match is David Finlay using the stunner as a finisher. He doesn't have any real style when he does it. It's just a plain Jane stunner. He needs to start doing some stuff like the Diamond Dust version, and working in some other variations of the move, and working get some style involved, have some panache, I guess, some impact to it, and a little bit of flash, sparkle, jazz it up, whatever euphemism you want to use. Because it's a great move, and when it's done right, with like Steve Austin, it can be one of the best looking finishers in the business. But Finley's version of it, or the way he does it, is just so plain Jane, it just doesn't work. He needs to jazz it up. That's my only real complaint with the match. Otherwise, it was a good little match. Just too short. And continuing that theme, I don't know what a theme is, continuing that theme, second match of the night, first match of the actual card, the proper show, the Young Bucks taking on Dragon Lee and Titan, I guess, from CMLL. And again, not a bad little match. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but only 7 minutes long. You're talking about, I don't really care for the Young Bucks too much. They are a really good tag team. They know how to do proper good tag team matches. And I have to believe that Dragon Lee and Titan, I believe is how they were pronouncing it, Titan, that they could go longer than 7 minutes. But they didn't give them any time at all to really have a proper match. And again, it was just an average match. Nothing to stand out. I know it's the opening match, but still. Then we have a 10-man tag team match with Kawato, Young Lion, Juice Robinson, Jushin Thunder Liger, Kushida, and Tiger Mask taking on members of Suzuki Gun, El Desperado, Prop Comic Taichi, Taka Michinoku, Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr. 10 men, 5 minutes and 19 seconds. I think the entrances actually took longer than the match did. Maybe not, but it felt like it, because the match was just kind of started and then it was over. And it was just kind of, what do they call it, a schmoz, I think is the term people like to use for it. And the only real highlight of the match was Kawato. I think the young guy, the young lion, has a really bright future as a high flyer. He definitely, when he goes on his excursion, he needs to go to Mexico for a while. Then maybe round things out by going to Europe and learning some mat wrestling and, getting a really good rounded base. I think he could really be up there with the likes of Kushida in the fullness of time and learning, rounding things out and everything. But other than that, it was average. It was just kind of there. 5 minutes, 10 men, that's 30 seconds a dude, basically. It just was not a very good match. It wasn't horrible, but it was just kind of there. Then the fourth match, third on the proper card, if you want to call it that, 6-man tag. 8 minutes, 11 seconds. 4 less guys, but somehow lasts 3 minutes longer, almost. And again, this is just kind of a nitpick thing with me, but if you have guys in a match and you know that even if Tiger Mask and Jushin Thunder Liger are getting up there, maybe they're getting close to retirement, they can still have longer matches. El Desperado, the other guys, Tai Chi is just a waste of space as far as I'm concerned. But the other guys, I'm sure they can also do longer matches. You have 10 fucking guys in a match that lasts a bit over 5 minutes, and then 6 guys that goes over 8 minutes. It makes no sense to me. From a narrative point of view, trying to be realistic, it makes no damn sense at all. So the 6-man tag is Tin Cozy and Togi Makabe going up against Bullet Club with Owens, Cody, and Takahashi. Again, the entrances just, the Bullet Club entrance in particular, just took for fucking ever. Because they want to have the camera up the girls' asses and just saunter their way down to the ring, and just took ages and ages and ages. Made up somewhat by Makabe and Tin Cozy just kind of go into the ring, They made up for that somewhat. So, again, the match wasn't bad, but it was just kind of there. 8 minutes is a bit better for a tag team match, especially a 6-man tag, but it was just kind of there. There's not much to say about it. That's my only really major complaint about New Japan is I understand that they like to have the tag matches so people get paydays, everybody gets on the card, everybody gets seen, you know that people are working. But it's like that Young Bucks going up against Dragon Lee and Titan is like, what, you they were just in country, so put them in a match? It's like, what the fuck? Let them have a day off and split that match time up between the next two matches and let them last a little bit longer. I mean, come on. Something. Good grief. So then we have our first championship match of the night. Or it's actually not a championship match. It's the finals of the Super Junior Tag Tournament. But it was the champions winning the tournament for some reason. I don't really understand the point of that. So you've got Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo defeating Super 69, which is ACH and Taguchi. Now I know that Ricochet has obligations in other places. That's probably why they took the belts off of Taguchi and Ricochet to begin with. But having him team up with ACH immediately just made it very obvious that Ricochet had other shit to do. I don't have a problem with them tagging together. I didn't see the tournament this year, so I imagine they put on some good matches and whatnot together. ACH is a pretty steady worker, and Taguchi definitely is. And this match was actually one of my favorites on the card, especially on the undercard, the low-mid card matches, because they were telling a good story. You know, ACH had the torso, the midsection injury, and Sho and Yo, despite mainly being high flyers, were doing a lot more ground wrestling, mat wrestling, and grounding pound, and beating the crap out of ACH and bringing in some martial arts and stuff, and staying on ACH's injury and aggravating it and forcing him to hurt himself in order to get his offense in. And they were telling a good story there. And they got 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes, 15:51, to tell that story. It was a pretty damn good match. I'm still not 100% sold on Sho and Yo as the champions right out of the gate. But the match itself was pretty good. I'd give it a B+ to an A grade for that match. It was a pretty good match. And then the Young Bucks, of course, challenged Roppongi 3K to a match. I think they're going to have it at Wrestle Kingdom, so that gave us another match for Wrestle Kingdom, which could be a really good match. Although the Young Bucks matches lately for the titles have been rather predictable. They isolate one guy, beat the crap out of him out of the ring, and then try to beat the crap out of the other guy in the ring to finish the match early, and then but he does the Superman or the Iron Man, surviving the onslaught until the other guy can get his act together. Been a little bit predictable. I hope that these four guys mix things up and do some new stuff. And I know that's a variation on classic tag team match tactics, but it's just been a little too predictable the last few Young Buck defenses. I mean, they did the same thing with... It was like practically the same match with Roppongi Vice 2 times, and then they did practically the same match with Ricochet and Taguchi too. So, and we're talking months here that have gone by in between some of these, or all these matches, so maybe it's just because I have a very good memory and I remember that shit, and other people may not pay attention to little details like that, but it was very noticeable to me. Very predictable. So I hope they mix it up. But it could be a very good match for Wrestle Kingdom. Alright, 6th match overall. We've got Chaos going up against Los Ingobernables de Japón. 10-man tag team match. A whopping 12 minutes and 7 seconds. 10-man tag team match. And you've got not only your world champ, but his challenger in Naito, one of the top guys in the company currently. Then you've also got some of your top mid-card guys and potentially upper-card guys later on with like Sonata, Evil, and Ishii and Goto. I still think Goto has it in him to be upper card. He just needs to change things up and change. He needs to do something new with his look and style and everything. I think he needs to switch heel. He needs to. He actually needs to join Los Ingobernables, I think, is what he needs to do. If not Los Ingobernables, then maybe branch off and do his own thing. And I don't know if New Japan, Jado and Gato have just decided that Goto is just a mid-card guy and is never going to be the guy, so that's why they put him in Chaos, so he can just kind of ride out the rest of his career as one of the guys. I kind of hope that he hasn't just decided that is true of himself and maybe pushes for something new to happen. I don't know what's going on there. But I think he has it in him, but I'm afraid that it's just been decided that he's had enough opportunities and hasn't been able to capitalize. I think if he could really change things up and do something new, I think he has it in him, but I don't know. And she is slow and steady wins the race kind of guy. But still, at the very least, you've got two of your top guys and four of your top middleweight guys, plus Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi, really good junior heavyweights, and Yoshihashi stalled out a bit, I felt, in the latter part of this year, but still an up-and-coming heavyweight. So you have 10 guys, the only one of which that you might say isn't going to be able to do a very long match is Gato, who was hardly in the damn match. And 12 minutes and 7 seconds. I know, again, I'm harping on this a bit, but it just is annoying to me. But again, it wasn't a bad match, it was just kind of there. I mean, they told a little bit of a story with Okada and Naito as is needed. It looked like they might be trying to set up something between Sonata, Evil, Goto, and Ishii, so maybe a tag match or a couple of singles matches going on there. But overall, it was just kind of there. So then we come to the 7th match. We got Suzuki defending for the Never Openweight Championship against Toriano, who had stolen the belt. And the match itself was kind of a clusterfuck. I mean, if they had just done the bull rope match, it would have been fine, but then they have to have all the interference 2 different times, and the first time Goto comes out and gets rid of him, and then they have interference again, but nobody from Chaos comes out to help Toriano, so I guess the rest of everybody else had taken a powder for the night, taking the rest of the night off or something. Nobody else can manage to help Toriano, who, for some reason, they always come down by themselves. It's like, that this is Suzuki Gun, they're going to cheat. Why don't you just have some guys come down with Toriano to back him up? That side of New Japan's booking doesn't make much sense to me, and it is a bit irritating. And just the interference in general. I've never liked interference. I got sick of it with the NWO back in the day, and ever since then, it's just like anytime interference happens, it just irritates the hell out of me. I don't get mad at the wrestlers. I know they're just doing what they're supposed to do. It's just irritating. But all that bullshit aside, the match itself, when it was just Toriano and Suzuki, was not bad. It was a bit clunky at times, but it was a bull rope death match. That's just par for the course there. I would have liked to have actually seen Toriano get nasty. And a couple of times it looked like he might be when he was whipping Suzuki into the exposed turnbuckle over and over again. I would have liked to have seen a really hardcore match with these two. It's like Toriano's always cheating, and he is a sneaky cheater. But I would have liked to have seen these two just go full tilt hardcore, beat the crap out of each other, weapons, the bull rope, and just really mix it up ECW style. Like one of my favorite ECW matches from later in the run was Tommy Dreamer and C.W. Anderson. Those two had a hellacious match on the last ECW pay-per-view. Hardcore done the right way, basically. And I think these two could have put on a hellacious hardcore match. But it just turned into Suzuki torturing Toriano most of the match, and then anytime Toriano finally was starting to get some offense in, Suzuki Gun would interfere. It could have been a really good match, it could have been really interesting, but it ended up being kind of shit. So maybe a C grade on that one for me. So far, I would say every other match on the card except maybe the Roppongi 3K, I'd give that a B+. Every other match a C. So far. And not necessarily because of anything against the guys. I don't think they were ever given enough time for a lot of those matches to really develop. So then we have Marty Scurll defeating Will Ospreay for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Suzuki retains Never Openweight Championship, beating Toriano. And Scurll, I'm not completely sold on him. I like his look. Not completely sold on his in-ring abilities. His work, great. His style seems a bit clunky at times, especially paired with Ospreay. And part of it was them, part of it was the camera work. There were just times during this match that was just way too obviously choreographed and planned out, and they were helping each other do shit. That got on my nerves. It wasn't necessarily any one particular thing. It's just at times you could see them counting things off in their head. And like I said, part of that was just the camera work, because sometimes the camera does not need to be right up their asses. This was one of those times that some distance would have helped the match tremendously. And they were not given that distance. Overall, the match was okay. Again, I would say maybe a C+ overall, because it, like I said, it would have felt a lot better if the camera work had been better, and if they had changed things up, because it really looked, they talked throughout the whole match about how well these two guys knew each other. You could tell. It looked like they were just pulling out a match that they had done 100 times before with each other for this championship title match. It could have been better, and it should have been better, and the camera work could have been better too. So about a C+ on that one. At least they gave him some time, 17 minutes, 28 seconds for the match. So a good length of time for the match, but it could have been better. Afterward, Kushida comes out, and then Hiromu Takahashi, absolutely hilarious appearance from him with putting all the stuff on so they couldn't stop him from issuing a challenge, because he had come out twice before. If you hadn't seen this, he came out twice before and got stopped from issuing a challenge for the title. And then Scurll says that he'll take on all three of them, so we're having a fatal 4-way Wrestle Kingdom. I have some concerns about that, because a fatal 4-way is a kind of match that on the turn of a dime it can go from being really epic to total shit. A complete clusterfuck. And again, they don't seem to want to give the junior heavyweight division much more than maybe 20-25 minutes to work a match. If they would give them at least 25 minutes for a fatal 4-way, I could see that working out. 25 minutes is a good length of time. They could beat the crap out of each other, wear each other down. But if they're not going to give them more than maybe 17, 18, 20 minutes, then they had better do it elimination style. Because if you don't give them at least that, you need a few extra minutes. If it's a fatal 4-way, one fall or submission match, you need those few extra minutes to sell the story of them interfering with the trying to finish the match. Because there's only one person who can win. If it's elimination style, you could have team-ups and people getting eliminated early and things like that, because nobody's going to interfere. They're going to help each other eliminate the other guys, and it'll drop down to 2 guys pretty quickly. You can do that. But if it's a one fall to or a submission to a finish, you have got to give them that extra time and space to breathe and tell the story properly. So I really hope they do a good job 3 of them I trust. Skrull, I'm not completely sold on. I just probably need to see him more, to trust him to put the match on and do a good match properly. But again, it's one of those kinds of matches that can so easily turn to shit so very quickly. I hope they do a good job. It's the biggest stage of the year for New Japan, and they know that. So, I'm sure they will, whatever time they're given, they will put everything they can into making it a good match. Hopefully it just doesn't end up being too choreographed and planned out. So after that match, again, I think I said it was about a B or C plus. It was about a C plus B, B minus. Then we have Kenny Omega defending the U.S. heavyweight title against Beretta. Omega wins, of course. 21 minutes, 33 seconds, good length for a title match. Especially, just a straight up singles match without a whole lot of high flying and stuff. I can understand giving the junior heavyweights less time, especially with some of the high impact offense. It does make more sense. The heavyweights are bigger, tougher, can take more damage, but also deal out more damage. But sometimes I think they need to get rid of a couple of the tag team matches, let guys have nights off or go do something else, and use that time to allow some of the other matches to breathe. It's my only real problem with New Japan. As far as their overall booking goes, they can't do heels for shit. And basically, everything about Suzuki Gun irritates me because it makes no sense. Suzuki himself is supposed to be this monstrous, sadistic asshole, constantly has to have interference to win matches. Makes no sense. Taichi is just a waste of space. Taka Michinoku doesn't ever seem to do anything. I mean, I think he was in the tournament, so I'm sure he worked during the tournament, but when I see him on the bigger shows, he never seems to do anything. El Desperado looks like he can do a good match, but he's always in these big tag team matches with all these other guys. Zack Sabre Jr., I don't care for his style much. For some reason, to me, it's always like when I feel like he should be going fast, he goes real slow, and when he should be working slow, he goes too fast. It's just something about Zack Sabre Jr. and I just don't click, I guess. And Kanemaru, I haven't seen him enough to actually make much of an opinion of him, or to have much of an opinion of him. But overall, Suzuki Gun reminds me way too much of the NWO, and I hated the fucking NWO. So I don't like Suzuki Gun very much either. So anyway, back to Omega and Beretta. I would give this an A minus, A grade. Beretta did a damn good job. I'm sure Omega was the one leading the way through the match. The leader of the match, as they would say, guiding Beretta through. But Beretta did a good job. He had some nice spots. I really like that slide through belly to back suplex, often miscalled German. It's only a German if they hold on, technically. That was a nice spot. They had some really good stuff. Told a good story. With Beretta taking a horrible looking bump on the edge of the table outside. I'd have to give it an A minus, I think, because not that they did anything wrong. It was bad camera work again. The table spot where Omega stomps the table that's laying on top of Beretta. The camera should have been behind Beretta on the side where Omega was running from, but it perfectly showed that Omega stomped the table onto the floor. I'm sure Beretta took some of the impact there, but it was just so obvious that, again, it was just a bad camera angle. They should have changed the angle for the shot, for the move, for the spot, whatever you want to call it. That's not their fault, but little things like that, I would have to drop it to an A minus. Other than that, and a few other little spots here and there that were a bit clunky, because I don't know that they had ever really worked together before, much, if at all. Which, that matters. But other than that, it was a good match. Beretta did a good job. I think he has a good future in the singles division. And even if he doesn't do much, even if he doesn't get over and doesn't work out as much as he could, or maybe is hoping for, singles, he still has a wealth of tag team experience to draw for him. And I'll actually talk about that after the main event match, because they have like the perfect heavyweight tag team just waiting to happen. And I'm going to talk about that after the next match, like I said. So overall, again, an A minus, whichever. It was a good match. A couple of spots that were kind of clunky, and the I'd call it a botched camera angle on that table spot was just ridiculous. New Japan's camera people need to get their shit together. You don't always need to be right up the wrestlers' asses, and sometimes the camera angle matters when they're doing certain moves and spots and stuff. Maybe it's a lack of communication between the wrestlers and the camera people, or they don't communicate at all, and they should be, but something needs to be done, because it is a bit of a problem, I've noticed. So let's get off of that and get to the last match, the main event, Tanahashi against Kota Ibushi. Very good match. I'd give that an A grade. 29 minutes, 26 seconds. Very nice length for a main event title match. Letting the IC title be the main event. Very good. Giving that some weight back. Because, again, another nitpick of mine is that I think New Japan has too many heavyweight singles titles. They've got the IC title, the US heavyweight title, the openweight title, and I guess that's 3, and the heavyweight title itself, the actual heavyweight title. 4 heavyweight singles titles. And I've said this before, they have horrible tag team divisions in both weight classes now. And on top of that, they've only got one singles junior heavyweight title, and then the junior heavyweight tag team belts, but they don't have enough tag teams for either weight division to really make a good division for either tag title. And then they've got tons of singles heavyweight wrestlers, so they've got the numbers to support the titles, but the problem is that they don't have any character to them. And I've talked about this before, talking about how I would do my own titles. Maybe I haven't put that video up yet, but I'll talk about it just briefly here. If I were to have my own promotion, and I always look at everything as if what would I do if I was running my own promotion, and how would I go about it logically? Every single division I would have its own personality, its own character. That's why I would have a hardcore division and a junior or a cruiserweight division, a lightweight division, whatever, light heavyweight division, junior heavyweight division, whatever you want to call it, that style. Heavyweight division and that division, and then the singles title that's just regular matches, and then a tag team division. 4 damn championships, and then I'd have something like an online championship that would only ever be defended on online shows. And then if I was going to have other singles titles, it would always be, like the Never Openweight Championship has kind of become almost a hardcore / strong style championship. So it does have its own personality. It's developed its own thing. And that's fine. But then you have like the US title, the U.S. Heavyweight Championship. Is this thing supposed to be held in equal, it's a brand new title. You can't look at it as being equal to the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So is it supposed to be above the Intercontinental Championship or below it? It's just another title. It's just another belt. So that is a bit of a problem I have with all these damn belts. It's like they don't have any character. They don't have any specific purpose to them. They're just there. But having the Intercontinental Championship be the main event title match, that's a good thing. They should do that more often. They need to cycle out title matches like that. You know, on the next one, let it be the U.S. Heavyweight Championship title match, even though they're not going to have one probably for next month. But you know what I mean. Let the Never Openweight Championship have a main event spot. Let the tag team divisions have main event spots on your bigger shows. Cycle them through. Don't always have certain ones be the main event, or necessarily even the most exciting match of the night be the main event. You know, with the bunny ears there, the quotes for most exciting match. You know, if you want every title to matter, then you have to make them matter. And one of the ways you can do that is by letting the main event cards, important cards, not just house shows and tournament shows and stuff. Okay. So other than that, really good match. Like I said, an A grade. There were a couple of clunky spots, a couple of, not complete botches. Specifically, the one that comes to mind immediately is the Hurricane Rana out of the corner, where Tanahashi's foot got caught because he hadn't put his feet over the ropes. That was the only really bad one. But a couple of clunky spots. Overall, an A-grade match. Really good. I'd say, the last two matches made up for a lot of the lackluster, mediocre matches on the card. I didn't care for that Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Like I said, part of it was them, part of it was the camera work. Maybe a B-, C+, B- grade there. The Bull Rope Death match, disappointing, extremely disappointing. Whatever I said before, maybe a C grade, C- even. Because I would have liked to have seen those two just rip the shit out of each other. Just beat the crap out of each other. Have an honest-to-goodness death match. ECW-style death match. And just go at it. No interference, no bullshit. Beat the crap out of each other. And they're capable of doing it. They're capable of doing it. It could have torn the house down. They had to overbook the shit. Very disappointing. Then all the tag matches. Again, I'm used to New Japan and the tag matches, and they're just kind of there. But again, they don't give them enough time, and they have too many of them on these bigger cards at times. They could have dropped one or two of them and given that extra time to some of the other matches to let them flesh things out a bit more. And then, if it's just about the payday, I don't know. It's like instead of having David Finlay going up against Kitamura in that pre-show match, have a Royal Rumble thing. They do that for Wrestle Kingdom. Just make that, a way to get everybody on the show, to get everybody at least a little bit of a payday, and not eat a bunch of time on the main card. Have a pre-show Royal Rumble sort of match every card, and that's just make that a new thing. The 10-man and 6-man tag matches, that's 16 guys. Then you throw David Finlay and Kitamura in there, that's 18 guys. That's more than enough to have a 15-20 minute Rumble style match. Especially if you allow pinfalls, submissions, and over-the-top rope elimination, anything goes elimination style. And you could have had a nice little match for the pre-show and freed up a solid 13, 14 minutes that the other matches that could have been given to other matches. So it's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm not the booker. It's just my opinion, I suppose. So we have a couple of big things that happened on the show that I haven't talked about yet. A couple of big revelations. One seriously overshadowed by the other, which is why I think they should have waited till December next month for the second one. But we had, holy shit, Chris Jericho is coming to New Japan again. He has not wrestled for New Japan, as far as I know, since the early 90s or the mid 90s. We're talking pre-WCW Chris Jericho days here. And I looked this up out of curiosity. He has not worked for anyone but WWE since 1999. He has not worked for another company at all since then. 1999. I mean, that's almost 20 damn years. Imagine that. And he's coming to New Japan. And I know he's getting up there. He's not at his best anymore, unfortunately. But I still believe, I honestly do believe that Chris Jericho, if not necessarily at the level of, say, The Rock and Steve Austin, because they're special cases, Chris Jericho is one of the best of his generation, easily. And I'd even say that as far as in-ring work, he's probably about the best of his generation. Because his mic work is great. His persona, he reinvents himself. He's always keeping himself fresh and doing new things. He knows when it's time to go away for a while and then come back. He's very smart about the business and how to conduct himself. But all that aside, his in-ring work is impeccable. Even if he's getting older and he can't go as well as he used to, I still see Kenny Omega against Chris Jericho being an absolutely phenomenal, amazing match. I am a ring action guy. I am very much looking forward to this matchup, because I think they are going to tear the house down. They are going to tell a phenomenal story. They might even overshadow Okada and Naito, even though I know that that match is going to be excellent as well. So, those two matches alone, Naito, Okada, Jericho, Omega, those two matches alone are worth the show. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is pure whip topping or gravy, whatever sort of meal you want to view this show as. If the show is a full course meal, then Tanahashi, or rather Omega Jericho, is going to be the appetizers and the salad. The Okada Naito match is your main course, and every other match is dessert, basically. And you know, I'm seriously looking forward to that match. Then we had the second reveal after the Tanahashi match, where he retained the title over Ibushi. And again, very good match, a rating match, I would give it. We have Jay White returning as Switchblade, and he has challenged Tanahashi to an IC title match at Wrestle Kingdom 12. And I have some serious reservations. Oh, okay, there's actually a thing. Jericho made an appearance in New Japan in 98. So, not as far back as I had thought, but still. He must have worked there after WCW briefly, or even while he was still with WCW, perhaps. Doesn't really matter. So, back to Jay White. So, I like Jay White. I thought he was really good as a young lion, because he was one of the ones. I started watching New Japan in 2015 with the G1 Climax tournament. After not watching wrestling for like 12 years, I got fed up with WWE, and I would watch occasional indie wrestling shows over the years, but for the most part I didn't follow anything or anyone. So I started watching New Japan with the G1 Climax Tournament 2015. Jay White was one of the ones who was often, and David Finlay were often in preliminary matches, opening matches and undercard matches and stuff. So I like Jay White. I think he definitely has a bright future. I haven't seen him work since his excursion. I think he went to Ring of Honor for the most part. So I'm sure he's done really well, and he's making his comeback. It looks like he's making a comeback as a heel, which, if he can actually work as a heel, that's good. He had some heel tendencies, even as a young lion, tending to mock people a lot, so it'll be interesting to see what he does there. So it's not him specifically I have reservations about, concerns. It's the fact that he's just coming back from his excursion, and they're already putting him up against Tanahashi for a title shot at Wrestle Kingdom 12. They are either desperate to establish him as a new talent, as a new competitor, or they have a world of faith in the kid, hopefully, because my fear is that it's going to be overwhelming. I mean, that's a huge amount of pressure to put on someone. His first big match back, he'll probably have some matches next month, leading up to it through this month and next month to set things up for the title match. They'll have tag matches with each other and whatnot. But still, his first major singles match back from his excursion against Tanahashi for the IC title at Wrestle Kingdom. That's a huge amount of pressure. I hope he can handle it. I really do feel bad for him. I'm happy for him, but I feel sorry for him at the same time, because that's just a huge amount of pressure to put on someone. And it's one of those situations where it's like there's practically no upside for him either. If he wins, you run the risk of putting the title on him too soon, and people turning on him because, he's beat Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. He shouldn't have gotten that spot. I know Japanese fans aren't as smarky and snarky as American fans, but it is a concern. People can turn on him if he wins. And if he gets beat, well, you're trying to bring this guy back to establish him as a new talent, and you just had him get beat in his first match back. It's sort of the same problem with Sho and Yo. They've not been doing too bad, but were they really ready to win the titles right off the bat? But if they don't win the titles, then you make them look weak, That's why I have a problem with them booking guys that are just coming back in title shots. They did the same thing with Hiromu Takahashi. And he's worked out all right. For a while, it's like, as long as he had the title, he looked strong, but ever since he lost the title, he's been more of a joke. And he's good at it. I love his character, actually. The Time Bomb wacko character is really fun. But it's like, I'm starting to feel like New Japan might have too many damn guys on the roster. They don't know how to keep everybody in the rotation and keep everybody relevant. Like Bushi. Bushi went from being a legitimate threat to Kushida to just being another background guy. And I understand that that's how pro wrestling works, but sometimes they really need to keep things moving a bit faster at times, I think. Maybe it's just me. So, it is Tanahashi, so you could make the argument that Tanahashi beating him at Wrestle Kingdom isn't going to make him look weak. Especially if he puts on a good showing. If he puts on a really good showing against Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom for a title shot, he can come out of it still looking strong. So I'm not saying that he's doomed. It just seems like a really odd decision and puts a lot of pressure on him, and we'll just have to see how it works out. It could be a really damn good match, though. I'm sure Tanahashi will make sure that he gets the best out of Jay White. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish up, but I wanted to bring attention back to what I said about Beretta. A potential new heavyweight tag team. Tell me this would not be absolute gold. At least the names. Beretta and Switchblade. Beretta and Switchblade. It is absolutely perfect. Maybe I'm actually looking into the future and that's what they're going to do. I don't know. But that is just such a perfect pairing. Beretta and Switchblade. Because Beretta is a gun, if you're not aware. I think that's actually his name. Let me look. I doubt it's actually his real name. No, his real name isn't even Trent. So, okay, so yeah, his real name isn't even Trent, but Beretta. Beretta is a type of gun. So Beretta and Switchblade. Tell me that those two kind of pulling. I like the look of Switchblade with Jay White with kind of the biker look. Tell me that having Beretta, I like his look too, but having him in more of a biker outfit because he's already got the long hair and he does the headband, kind of a new version of the Freebirds almost, a biker gang thing. I'm mixing up Freebirds and the biker gang that was in WWF back in the day, but a new version of that sort of a gimmick, especially if they could get somebody, they could do a Freebirds thing. If they could get somebody that could really talk really good and be a real smartass and still work. Juice Robinson, I'm not sure what his mic skills are like, but he could be part of the team too. They could actually form a new stable that would be interesting, kind of a biker gang sort of stable. I know Suzuki Gun kind of has that going on, but they're so inconsistent about what they're doing at any time. I kind of just dismiss them for the most part. But even if we're not talking about a new stable, just Beretta and Switchblade sounds like a great tag name. So I know they're trying to work as singles competitors, but I said it earlier, I believe, they don't have enough tag teams to support their tag team divisions. Switchblade and Beretta, or Beretta and Switchblade would be a great tag name. Beretta has a wealth of experience in the tag team division. He could even have Rocky Romero as a manager since he's already doing management stuff for Roppongi 3K. He could be the mouthpiece for both teams and turn it into kind of a stable and, break from chaos. Perhaps. I mean, it's just an idea. I just like the idea of Beretta and Switchblade as a tag team. I like the two of them together. I think could work really well, and I love the name. Just the name sells it for me alone. So it was just a thought. So thanks very much for listening. That is my review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Power Struggle 2017. Overall, again, I'd say a B minus show. The last two matches save it. The announcements were really cool. That's the only other thing I have to say about Jay White's appearance and him being announced is I wish they would have waited till next month to do it, because having Chris Jericho make his announcement and then, oh, Switchblade is here, it's Jay White, oh no, I felt like he got overshadowed. Unfortunately, they should have waited. If not till next month, then they should have waited until another show this month that could have gotten some more attention for it, something. To where he wasn't competing with people already talking about Chris Jericho Omega, But it is what it is. It's done. The past is the past. I just wish they would have made a bit of a better decision on that. So, once again, thanks very much for listening, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.